All right, welcome everybody. Hey, perfectly on time.
Yeah.
This is Theo and my co-host Derek. We are the Heels
How's it
of
going?
Time. Hope you guys have enjoyed your holiday. Hopefully you had a little bit of a break, or if not, hope you enjoyed everything and the season. And I'm ready to go back to work. Not really, but that's okay.
No. But yeah, welcome 2022. Let's see
Right?
if we can do one better than last year.
Right? Hopefully, fingers crossed, man. So we're going back to our normally scheduled events. Since we don't
Yep.
have any more episodes to go over, we're going back old school and doing a little bit of our syncretism with mythology and the Wheel of Time.
That's right.
Forewarning, yep, there are Wheel of Time spoilers for the book and for the TV show as well. So just a fair warning, get that out there right away, because I don't want anybody like, no, dudes, can't believe you said these things. So today's topic is going to be an interesting one. It's Venus and the Wheel of Time. And I specifically say Venus. You can say Aphrodite. Technically, they're two different deities, but they're kind of combined. They're kind of not. It's okay. For our purpose, they're going to be kind of interwoven with each other because there's going to be some overlap. There always is. It's Greek and Roman, but for this particular one, there is a difference. But I will ignore that part, and I'll be talking about both. Meantime, Derek will also be grabbing some stuff from the Wheel of Time and saying, "Dang, man, this sounds familiar." So we
I
hope.
think so. I think
I
so.
hope so. So without further ado, I'm going to get going because it might be a little bit of a long topic. So both of them, goddess of love, sex, beauty, fertility. The fertility part's interesting. It's not just human fertility. It can also be a little bit of harvest in there as well.
Mm.
It's a little bit lesser, but it's more of the other ones. Definitely of the love, sex, and beauty part. And you can say fertility because, Romans actually women were supposed to, on the day of their marriage or right around there, was supposed to give vindication to Venus. And if they didn't, bad things go down in your marriage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So Venus / Aphrodite, this is where they combine, did have two godly lovers, Vulcan or Hephaestus, the guy that makes all the weapons, Mars or Ares, he's the brute, bringer of war. So Vulcan, Hephaestus, yeah, they didn't really love each other that much, but they got along. They're like
Okay.
friends-ish, kinda. So no children, loveless marriage. They were just there just to be companion. Now Hephaestus, don't need to get into him right now, but there's a reason for it. He was also like one of the super ugly gods,
Huh.
and was also like Vulcan. If you think about Vulcan, like volcanic stuff, he was also usually below ground, hammering away. Like his whole thing was like his anvil. Magma was like his weaponry stuff, make the
Okay.
forge go kind of thing. So it makes sense. He was down below, but whatever. We're not talking about him. We're talking about Venus.
Right.
So that being said, he actually caught the two of them in bed because he constructed a trap.
Oh no.
He put a net over. He put a net over the bed and caught him in the act. It was so
Like
sweet.
he Scooby Dooed the
Yep,
situation. as they
Scooby Doo the
say.
bed, yeah. So it's pretty hilarious. He's like, fine, whatever. He was pretty chill. That being said, it's not that Venus didn't have children because she had a ton. So with Mars, some interesting ones, right? Timor, Phobos, which would be the personification of fear. Interesting, right? And then
Yes.
if you think about war, what comes with fear? Terror. That's right. He has a twin bro, Metis or Demos. That's a personification of terror. Interesting though. Those are the boys. Girl with him, Concordia. Cornucopia kind of thing. Harmonion is in Greek, and that is the goddess of harmony and concord. Right? cornucopia, yeah. And then the Cupids. Everyone knows the Cupids, little dudes flying around. Yep, little winged homies that shoot the arrow, which is important later on when we get to the arrows.
Okay.
So, she was also in a bunch of stories. One was by Ovid, Metamorphoses. It's a fabulous book. It's crazy thick. If you're reading the books of Robert Jordan, they're long,
Shouldn't
intense.
be a problem.
Long, intense, full of meaning, and yeah, this one is long, intense, and it's like, holy crap. But it explains every single deity. And even though he's a Roman poet, he brought in a lot of Greek stuff in there too. So he actually made the Pantheon almost one. It was pretty intense when you read it. It's super thick. But if you're down with this stuff, definitely a good read. He wrote really good stories too. Yeah. But interesting. She had a child with Hermes. Remember who Hermes could be? Oh yeah. Mercury, right?
Yes.
So the interesting one here, and I say a child, not male or female, because it's both.
Oh, that is very interesting.
I'm going to mispronounce it because I did back in the day as Hermaphroditus Demetrios. But essentially, that's where we get the word of hermaphrodite from.
Right.
So,
very, very cool.
Yep. It's pretty interesting, right? She also had another child. This one's interesting. Hermes or Zeus, no, who knows? Fortuna, Tyche, which is luck and fate. Interesting. I think we can have a couple characters that have some fate. Do you want to take a little something for now?
I do.
Okay, I figured you did. Go for it.
I'm going to say something you expect. Then I'm going to throw a curveball that you like because you won an argument in my head. Okay?
Cool.
So I'm going to say this. Sometimes Robert Jordan and his syncretism, and so I start off with saying things I know he said so that we don't sound like complete fools on the show talking
we're fools
about
anyway, man. It's all good.
But we're fools anyway, but just not completely.
Right.
So he would say that like the big characters in mythology, like your Merlins, for example, your King Arthurs, those were spread out among multiple characters in the book. So I've realized that I've kind of guarded selfishly. In my head, I'm like, well, Rand is Mars. He most envisions that. Well, yes, but the host of the show has pointed out many times, since he's the expert in the classics, well, Derek, you are right that Tyr is Mars. And you're right, but you can't forget, I should say, that Ares is also Mars. And these are two completely different war gods. So I'm going to assert, and I see the truth in this now. I think one aspect of Mars, the Ares aspect, is Lan, is Alan Mandragoran. And now why am I settling on Lan of all people though specifically? Because Lan with human weapons, a sword, kills a Forsaken. Like that's Ares. Mm-hmm. Like even if Ares could breathe fire, he'd be like, no, I don't need that, and he'd like throw an axe and like kill someone. So that's why I say, and there are many feats that Lan has accomplished. Reaching back to the New Spring, you should read this book if you haven't. If you've read all the books but not New Spring because you thought maybe it was just fluff or filler, you find out that Lan is able to best like 4 swordmen at once, and that's not supposed to be possible. So, like, yeah, he's probably Ares. So that being said, who does Ares? Who is one of Venus's lovers? You said was Mars or Ares. Mm-hmm. That's Lan. Mm-hmm. Well, who does Lan end up with? Nynaeve Elmire. Nynaeve Elmire, I think, is the prominent Venus. Like Rand is the prominent Mars.
Ah, bro.
but Lan is also Mars in Aries, and I think that's why Rand and Lan have such a kindred kinship, because they're both a version of the planet Mars.
So dig this, bro. I'm going to throw you a curveball for once.
Okay, go ahead, man.
I think Rand is also Hephaestus.
Okay, I think I can. I'll give you that. That's a possibility for sure.
So here's why.
How do you see it? I want to. Yeah.
Hephaestus makes all the godly weapons, right?
Okay.
Quite honestly, if you watch the Eternals, they actually did Hephaestus pretty well there. He can just manifest whatever the hell he wants.
Oh, wow.
Hephaestus does this. So does Vulcan, right?
Okay.
Loveless marriage. Nynaeve, even in the show with Rand, there's nothing there. Not a marriage aspect. Super friends,
Okay.
absolutely yes.
Okay.
But what does Rand do with his channeling? Builds weapons out of like nothing, right?
Okay. Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
He has
yeah.
his swords,
Most definitely.
both the glass and the heron.
Okay. Yeah.
Now he's got a hand chopped, so he's
So it's
deformed.
So it. Oh, and he's okay. I know. I like this. I like this more and more. And at some point in the book, he realizes, gee, I shouldn't really be wasting time summoning this fire sword when I can just like make so much more grand things happen, and like I can make Trollocs explode at like 100 paces. Why am I doing this? But it's kind of like he is forging a sword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think he's he's definitely Mars. He's definitely a bunch. As we said, he combines characters together. So I think he could also be Hephaestus. And we can get that that later. But we're still on Aphrodite Venus.
Yeah. No,
we got little tidbits for extra shows.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll have to hit that topic. I can see some other reasons for why that'd be the case. Like, we'll get in that another time. I'm going to put a lid on it. Yeah. So back to Venus. And so we're talking about Vulcan and Hephaestus possibly being Rand. We're talking about Lan possibly being that Aries aspect of the celestial body. And those are the two male companions that Nynaeve has. And Lan, she literally marries. And after the story, they have kids, right? So, but that's spoiler, that's like
super
even
spoiler
that's
stuff. Yeah,
that's like after the books, right? That's like in the prologue, right? And their epilogue. Yeah.
And she's always with Rand in one form or another.
So
around him, I guess you could say.
Yeah, but what's interesting, you said Hephaestus is let's say mutilated, right? And Rand, he lost his hand. But also, what's interesting, and we're talking about like maybe blending characters and separating aspects out and making sure that maybe not one person has all the aspects, but all the aspects are there. Lan is being described as being like all angles and like hard, like he's not a beautiful man. He's like chiseled out of stone or something.
He's rugged.
Yeah, he's a rugged guy.
Individual.
Yeah, so there's that too. So
but no one ever said Aries is pretty.
So right. So check this out. Before I throw this back to you, I'm going to dig into a little astronomy, not astrology, but astronomy, and I will point out something interesting about Venus and related to Nynaeve. Now, Venus tends to arc low in the sky, right? So quite often, Venus is characterized with someone that's shorter in stature. Okay, well, Nynaeve is said to be very short. She's about 5'0", maybe less. So there's that. Now, spreading out characters, what's interesting is there is actually one other character that I also believe is Venus, and I'm going to reveal this now.
Do it.
I'm going to point out that this character known as Tuan. I'll let you figure out who Tuan is. Tuan is also described as very short.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in this situation, Tuan marries Matrim Cawthon, which we propose is Mercury or Hermes himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe you already mentioned that Venus also marries Hermes and they have a child.
Has some kids.
And they have, well, all right,
No
they have
married
some kids. Well, yes. So, but
Technically speaking.
nonetheless, and in this case, the marriage that Tuan and Matt has is very strange.
Oh, yeah.
Once they're married, Matt goes, well, okay, well, I guess this is great. We can learn to love each other. And she's like, love each other. She's like,
What?
I mean, maybe. Like, she's like, I don't even know when I'm going to see you again. Like, it was much like a matter of like business, you know? So, like, merging and what came out of their marriage, their strange marriage, was this weird amalgamation of like the combination of like the Sanshan people and the Westland people. They came together. So I'm going to throw it back to you because I know you have a few more
Yep.
facts that you want to lay out.
So, also going along the lines of literature,
Yes.
Virgil, excellent poet from Rome, a Roman Latin poet. He made the Aeneid, which is almost like Homer's Odyssey, but from a different angle. Well, it is a different angle. It's the founding of Rome, actually. So you follow Aeneas, who's a Trojan hero, and they're getting beat down and so sad. And he's like, oh no, what are we going to do? We're traveling on these boats. Well, how do you navigate a boat back in the day? Didn't have charts. Oh, you kind of did. And the stars you did, right? So what does he follow? He follows the evening star, which was his mama in celestial form. And, aka, that's Venus. And looping it together, once everything is formed in Rome and all the emperors come through and yay, people probably know Julius Caesar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Julius Caesar. I am a god. Well, how are you going to make yourself a god? You could just say it because you're emperor, because gods were emperors. But he aligned himself with the heavens, with Venus specifically.
I like that.
And so this name Venus, it's also because it's so discernible in the night sky.
In the night
It
sky,
is
right?
super bright, and you
Bro,
can
help
see
me
it
out
with
here.
the naked eye.
Help me out here.
Go for it.
What direction is the evening
shit.
sky?
Man, I don't know. I'm dumb.
If the sun rises in the east, then it
West.
must set in the west, right?
Yep.
So,
Directions are not my thing, bro.
my bad. So just keep that in mind for a couple seconds.
Yep.
Sun's setting in the west,
Yep.
right? It sets in California, right?
Yep.
So Nynaeve, Nynaeve, after marrying Lan is ready to go battle. He's ready to go fight the good fight, like the fight,
The big one.
right?
Yep.
So the fight is going to happen in the northeast.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Nynaeve teleport Lan? To the northwest.
Mhm.
So, spirited away by Venus, right?
Yep.
Doesn't that exactly sound like, oh, I'm spirited away by Venus. Well, where is Venus? In the west. And so he tricks he tricks Lan. Venus tricks Lan. Nynaeve tricks Lan here.
Freudian
My bad,
slips.
folks. Yeah. And what does she do? Well, she keeps her promise. He goes, take me to the borderlands.
Well,
She takes him to the most western possible
point. Yep.
So now he has to march back. This is true, but this is Venus helping Aries because he's in the Venus. It has her power in the western sky at night.
Yep.
she sends him there, and what does he has to do? He has to march by every single borderland town in order to get to where he's going. So this gives him the opportunity to raise an army,
Mm-hmm.
which he will because he's Ares. So
Bring your war, bro. Yep.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, you say that Nynaeve and Tuan are short. They are.
yes, yes.
So it gets a little crazy now. So I didn't get into Venus's and Aphrodite's birth because that's some weird stuff. So
I'm sure.
I'll let you get into that one. Let's just say she was born an adult. But it's not how you think.
Is this a clam story, bro?
It is the clam story.
All right. I'm sorry to steal your thunder, man.
It's the clams, but
Yeah.
different type of clam, man. So
Huh.
her mom is Gaia, Earth. So I'm gonna get into it anyway. So
okay.
her mom is Gaia. Unfortunately for her, she is consistently pregnated by Uranus
Mm.
because that's how they copulate, right? So she's always pregnant. She's pissed. She's like, man, this is some BS. So what happens? She gives birth to a kid. Kid's like, you know what? Screw this. Slices off his genitalia. All of it. He's like, no. Falls into the ocean. Well, he's a god, so of course what happens? The sea becomes pregnant, so to speak. And dum dum dum. Venus and Aphrodite are born. Hence the clam, because she got to come up on something. And then little lands and things come around her and whatever. Super funky, man. That's some weird shit. But what I was getting about the short thing is she's been around for a little bit longer than potentially possible that we think of. So Cyprus, it's a little island. It's in the Mediterranean. It's half Greek, half Turkish. But anyway, back in the day, it was all Greek.
Well, and it's a very important island
Yes.
historically, because it's kind of like if you were sailing from Crete to the Levant, that would be like a nice place to
point.
stop to resupply.
Yep. So it's militaristically beneficial and also not militaristic as well. It's just a good island. But they also worshipped a short, fat creature. I was gonna say creature.
Sure.
Huge bosom.
Mm-hmm.
Huge,
So Robert Jordan would be happy with that.
That part probably. Kind of but when I mean fat, is more like pregnant big. But fat and pregnant, if that makes sense. The down below region was also extremely pronounced, visible with the eyes. And then instead of like a neck and a head area, it was a phallus with some eyes. So it's kind of weird, right?
Wow. That's kind of strange.
Yeah. Called the Lady of Lymda. So the interesting thing is here, it's a mix of male and female. So you get that androgyny going.
Right.
But the kicker is, this thing was over 5,000 years old, was the date of this little figurine that they found.
Oh,
So this is my personal opinion. This is nothing like, I don't think it's been stated, or maybe it has and I read it somewhere and I forgot. But my guess is 5,000 years ago, that's cool. Fine. Excellent. Male, female, combining. Excellent.
And that's who they associated with the planet.
Yep. And then
Okay, got it.
That's my assumption. And then as time goes on, social things change.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't good to have male and female together, and so they kind of split them apart. And again, remember, she was not how we would think of as gorgeous. Right?
Sure, not well. That changes too as
Yep,
the wheel
that changes time.
as the wheel turns.
Exactly. So the depiction in modern classics, if you want to say modern, and then going back, the form of Aphrodite Venus has changed. She wasn't like the buxom, gorgeous blonde chick out of the clam.
Mm.
that evolved over time. So I think the story changed too. So to make them all combined, the male and female thing, that's when she had Hermes, the copulation with Hermes, and then got hermaphroditus.
Right.
So they kind of changed. My thought is that they kind of changed the Cypriot mythos behind this particular individual, and then made it into Aphrodite, and then split her off into like different deities,
like different aspects,
or chicks, as in like different girls, different goddesses, and then also siblings / offspring.
So wait. So in my dumb brain, I'm picturing like these two groups of people meet like in a bar, and one person's like, well, no, Venus and beauty is everything. It's man, woman, everything all in one. And then this like other guy, this Greek like philosopher guy's like, what are you talking about? It's separate.
Exactly.
There's male beauty and woman beauty. They're two different things. And that conversation, but then he goes, this is a really cool idea. So let's let's keep this, but I'm going to demote it to the daughter of Venus.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
That's how I'm thinking of it. So it gets crazy, right?
Yeah.
So now we're going like to modern classics of how we would think of her. And man, gorgeous female, right? And you would think that, brush it off a little bit, like I'm the most gorgeous person in the world.
Oh, for sure.
Except she's not in her mind. So she's always got to be, I don't want to say worshipped, but she's got to know from other individuals that I'm the best. I'm the prettiest. That's how she works. Cause
like mirror on the wall. Who's the
fairest one of them all? Exactly. So with that being said, anybody that spoke out against her got mad punished. So I'm gonna go over a couple. One dude, he was a companion. He's irrelevant, but he's like, yeah, she sucks. And she turned him into like a bird. And it was like, screw you. Guess what? Peace. Other people did the same thing. Didn't want to. Basically, if you said no, she ruined you somehow, one way or another. Like she made these people. There's 6 princes of the island of Rhodes, and they're like, psh, we don't want to worship Aphrodite. She's a terrible person. And they like shoved her off. So she got pissed, and then made them, because remember how I said she's like sex, love, but it's not always the good kind. This was like unnatural loving passions. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So they did some crazy rape stuff.
Oh.
All over the island, including, sounds nasty, bros, a little jam with their moms.
Oh.
And there's 6 of them.
Good grief.
Yeah, so that's not cool. Now Poseidon happened to be their dad, and they're like, yeah, you're dead. So he literally killed him, and they're buried under the island. Yeah, not so hot. So another one of those. Prince knows a pattern here. They're usually people of like high regard. They're like, fuck you. Yeah. It was like, you know what? Worshipping Aphrodite is a joke. I don't want to do it anymore. So she's like, cool. Guess what? Now your stepmom is going to love you. Love you a lot. And he had a dad. Dad was living. So Dad got a little angry. No more little kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So she's vicious. So, okay. So this is, I'm going to lay this out.
Mm-hmm.
The heroic aspects of Venus, I see landing on Nynaeve. So what do I mean by that? Well,
Love,
she's
joy, rapture.
she's prideful. You
Yep.
hear about Venus being prideful. She's very prideful, but it's not her looks. And what's funny is Nynaeve knows that she's a good-looking woman. She's very chesty, let's just say. She's very short, but she's not like she's very she's kind of described as being smaller other than her chest size. And it seems to me that with these descriptions of her, she's already secure, so that's kind of like a big difference as far as her appearance. But she gets very upset when she's not listened to.
Yep.
And she's the Oh, here's another thing. I have heard it said that sometimes Venus is referred to like the star of wisdom or whatever. That's probably not exactly the right thing, but something like that. Nynaeve is a wisdom from her village. Okay. She browbeats everybody that doesn't listen to her. She'll literally thump them on the side of the head with like a wooden spoon or whatever. Doesn't turn anybody into animals, but I mean, her wrath is well known. Yeah.
Well, also, how does she channel it first?
She channels it first only when she's angry.
What gets her angry usually?
Envious situations or scared. Well, I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like she will tell herself. Yeah. She will like maybe imagine Lan not being faithful to her or something, and then all of a sudden,
boom,
she's ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. I didn't even
stroke my hair. He's like, oh crap! Here comes the big one. So, interesting, right?
Yes.
Venus also has like 15,000 names. I mean, that's ridiculous. So I'm gonna go over a few.
Okay.
I'm gonna mispronounce these because my Latin is not what it used to be. Sorry, y'all. But because technically it's not Venus, it's Venus. But whatever.
That's okay.
So Venus at Caladia, it's in the Aeneid. It's a fountain thing, whatever. It's something that the Graces, maybe or maybe not, was her lineage, but we'll say they were in this story. They were said to bathe there, but the Greek form is very close to the Greek word for arrow. Hence the Cupid aspect, shoot the arrow stuff.
Oh,
love is an arrow.
That's
Ovid
cool.
uses this only as the arrows for cares and pangs. So, interesting epitaph for that one. One that I know you'll get a kick out of, and I'm going to totally mispronounce this one. But all of these have like Venus in front of them, so I'm just going to do the second part. Calatia, celestial or heavenly Venus. Makes sense, right?
Yes.
That's up in the sky. They're also thinking that it may not always be her, as in like could may have been like a Syrian goddess.
Oh wow.
But who knows where everything always came from? Makes sense because Cyprus kind of in between the east and the west.
Yeah, and Assyria would have been in the northern reach of the Levant.
So,
and they have invaded the Levant at some point.
So going back on this one, with the celestial being, Magna Mater, aka that's like the mother. So mother of the Romans. Yes. It's because Aeneas followed the star to found Rome.
Oh wow! Oh, that's really cool.
So yeah. Yep.
Okay, dude. That
that makes
that's exactly
click.
like Nynaeve taking land to the west, where she is in power, and then he marches to his home kingdom of Melchior. So it's like he's founding the kingdom.
Yep, exactly.
Oh wow!
So I thought you'd get a kick out of that one.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
There's another one that I think you're going to get a kick out of. It's Felix. What is that? For those of you in the Harry Potter realm, you already know it. It's luck. So it's Lucky Venus. What's Nynaeve, Derek? Along with Rand.
And Mad and Perrin. in the show,
the
they've
show,
definitely
at least.
underscored it, and I believe it's true in the books as well, just never mentioned. But yeah, she's top Ren. She has godly influence in the world, or I would say divine providence. That's
Yes.
how I'd put it.
Now straight up, Matt is lucky beast. Like he's got the dice and roll the dice.
But
It's
homie,
different,
you
this
know,
is a different kind of luck.
but homie, I think about that sometimes,
Go for it.
and I think about this.
What you got?
Matt likes to gamble. Sometimes I wonder if Rand picked up the dice, would he be lucky too?
Probably.
If Perrin picked up the dice, would he be lucky too?
I mean, he would just go and be like, "Give me your money." Smack them
Right.
heads.
And so maybe not as lucky. Maybe Perrin would be not as lucky as Matt, but maybe Matt is not actually as lucky as Rand, right? Because it gets tricky, right? So how much of what they end up being able to do has to do with their own personalities, and Tabaran kind of shape the path for them. It's a very interesting thought, the chicken or the egg kind of situation here.
Pretty interesting. So there's legitimately like 10 more. So I'm like, whatever.
Go for it, dude.
There's way more than 10 more. But there's one thing that I want to say that's kind of interesting with this, right? So Nynaeve can channel. And eventually she doesn't need her anger to channel away, right?
That's right.
So how Derek, I'm gonna ask you a question. I already know the answer to it, so I'm not gonna throw you a super curveball. When you're a super novice and they're like, I'm trying to channel, but man, I can't. How do I do it?
Oh, okay, gotcha. So they say to envision a rosebud, and they say let that rosebud fill with light and open up.
So the kicker,
Yes.
one of Venus's symbols is the rose.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. So I see what you're saying, and let me just say it this way. Let me steal for a second and just say that's a juxtaposition, right? So we have the symbol of Venus being a rose. This is something Nynaeve cannot obtain
Right?
at first, but eventually she obtains it. And okay, no, I like that. Okay. Very cool. Very cool.
She's also
So
go ahead.
Well, if you think about it, anyone can have a rose, right? So, but that gives the rose meaning to her. In the same way that Rand is marked by herons, and that associates him with Bennu, the Egyptian god of the Nile as a heron bird. Very cool. Okay, I like that. Thank you. Go on.
I thought that was a cool one. So
I like it.
she's also celebrated. Like I said, she's celebrated. She's in the Pantheon. She's actually celebrated a lot. Because what did you want? You wanted to get love. You wanted to get sex. You wanted to get marriage. You want to have like different types of love, all the stuff, and fertility, and all the things that come with it.
Right.
So she was one of the most venerated deities. Period. Anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
Like just in general, you could be rich, you could be poor, anything in between. She was your goddess, right? I mean, you did it for everybody, but everybody worshipped her in some
Like you
form.
made sure not to skip your Venus worship or
Bingo.
your Aphrodite worship.
Yep.
Right.
That being said, she also has 3 or 4, I think, major festivals, like big dogs.
All right.
So, Veneralia, right?
Okay.
Guess what day that is? April 1st.
April
You're like,
1st.
well, wait, she's not a trickster. She's not April Fool's Day, that kind of stuff. No, you're right. You are correct. But it also means the changer of hearts. And virility and stronger good fortune. So I think we, as in modern people, kind of flip that around. You know, you got the pagan holidays. You got to make them kind of not. Got to make them Christian. And put these in question. And putting these in quotes, y'all. So put whatever religion you want in there. You can say Christian, whatever. Doesn't
Or
matter.
we could even, since this happened in the past, we could just say to make it Latin or, not, I'm saying that
Not
wrong,
old,
like,
not, yeah,
because it
not
is
old school
Roman.
religion. Make it non-religious or make it something different. So we play tricks
Right.
on people.
Or instead of saying this is just happening in Rome, maybe this is a more European idea as time went by.
So
Gotcha.
as she's changed the changing aspect, I looked at it as like a
Yeah.
trick. It's not.
Okay.
It's not. But you fling that little arrow. All of a sudden you're in love with somebody, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not necessarily Valentine's Day because it's different, but I found that date very, very specifically amusing to me because April Fool's Day, that's how we've changed it, kind of like Christmas Day
I like that
was
very
a
much.
pagan holiday at 1st, and you just kind of like kind of sweep it under the rugs, and when you people don't know exactly what it was for, hey, because it wasn't necessarily to trick people. This was like, oh, make sure all of your affairs are in order. And I don't mean like, affairs, but like heart, sex, betrothal, marriage, all the things that Venus did. This is what you did on the 1st, April 1st, the Veneralia. So that's what she did. I thought that was pretty, go for it.
So check this out. I think an aspect of Venus in the story Wheel of Time, apart from Nynaeve, and so far I see this again landing on Tuan's shoulders. So who is Tuan? She is the daughter of the Nine Moons. She is the next in line for the throne of succession in the Sanshan Empire. Okay, this is the biggest group of people besides in Randland, and they make up the Southwest. Rand has all the territories in the Northeast, so they're a huge faction. Okay, they're huge. So Tuan, she marries Matt Cawthon, aka Mercury, right? So Matt is thought of as being a great fool, by the way.
Little trickster.
A little trickster. But what's interesting, and that's just by association, but what's interesting and more closely related to the old version of April Fools and talking about changing people's fortunes, Tuan, within her empire, she, as the empress, next in line to be the empress, she can give people new names. And within the world of Shanshan, your name is your livelihood. So she used to be a Genin, something or other. Don't have that on my brain right now. And she was a ship captain, right? Tuan goes, oh, okay, well, your name is now, I think, Lulin or Leela, and your last name is Shipless. So, ha ha ha, April Fools, like, your life is totally upside down now.
Yep.
So I think that has to do with that association. I think that's probably a way that Robert Jordan worked that in there. Oh, she can change fortunes, and she has a daughter named Fortuna. Okay, one of my characters' names is going to be Fortuna, and she can literally change your name and your fortune if you're a citizen. And being a citizen, I mean, that's kind of like, okay, you're a worshiper of Venus. You know?
And if she was going to be the goddess anyway, right? Not a goddess, but if she was going to be the queen.
Right. Oh, where does the crystal throne in Randland sit? To the west, by the way.
Interesting. So we all know that Romans loved their wine back in the day. So, of course, they're going to have some wine festivals. So one was Venalia Urbana, which is shared festival by Venus and Jupiter. Kind of weird. I mean, they're not related, but a lot of times they think that Venus kind of puts her influence in on Jupiter with all of his things that he would do with other folks, if you catch my drift. We've had his numerous offspring mentioned before, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So this one was like, you get hammered. I mean, is funny because she was actually like profane for everyday human use, while Jupiter was like the strong, pure form. And this was a time where women and men could drink alike, and they could just like get hammered. Why? Beats the hell out of me. But it was done by everybody. Upper class, lower class. Didn't matter. But
So this was a festival, you said?
it's a festival. You know how it is.
When did it happen? Do you happen to
Oh
know?
yeah, it's April 23rd. My bad.
April 23rd?
Yep.
Okay.
Nothing weird about that date.
But not about the date, but check this out. In Randland, they have a festival. I think it's called like the Week of Lights or something. I'm messing that up. It happens, I believe, the first week after the winter solstice. So basically, it's like New Year's. And during the celebration in Korean, not anywhere else, just in this particular neck of the woods, men and women, nobles and commoners alike, all come out publicly and they drink. And everything is done
There you go.
outdoor, like not out, everything is done publicly. And you're basically allowed to kiss anyone you want, married or single.
Sounds like a bacchanal.
It also sounds like that, yeah.
So crazy part, common chicks and prostitutes would also gather. This is during the same Urbana one. Would actually gather at the Venus's temple and offer her myrtle, which by the way is another one of her symbols, because it was also like a strong aphrodisiac. If you like, made people like drink it or eat it, I guess.
Of course.
Whatever. Mint and. It would conceal
Good
it
breath.
in rose bushes, right? Or rose bunches, like a bouquet kind of thing.
Sure, yeah.
That would make sense because that's like all of her symbols like rolled into one. And they would ask her for, make things cool for me, beauty, popular, charming, and, the good wife kind of thing. Thought that was pretty interesting. Anyway.
So that is very interesting. And I'm actually going to tie back an earlier point. You know how Venus is kind of in charge of the cherubs, like Cupid?
Yeah.
But it's not just love, right? You said there are other aspects.
Mm-hmm.
Can you remind me real quick?
It was like fertility.
Fertility.
Well,
heart, you said?
The what?
Like the heart, like to make you feel better?
To make yourself a better, I don't say a better person, but a better lover for your person. For your person you're in love with.
So check this out. As the village wisdom, Nynaeve makes concoctions.
Mm-hmm.
And she claims that she can make a concoction for everything and anything up to someone behaving like a goose. And for that, she makes this bitter concoction. It doesn't do anything to you. It just leaves this terrible bitter taste in your mouth. And the idea is you just stop acting silly because you don't want to deal with that taste in your mouth anymore. But so that's kind of interesting. I'm not saying she makes love potions, but
it stands to reason though. But as probably as a village wisdom, and I don't know if this was actually specifically said in the book, but in terms of being a seer and stuff in ancient times, you'd be almost like an oracle.
Yeah.
Where you would go to someone and say, would this be a good person to marry? Not necessarily a matchmaker.
A matchmaker. I bet I bet you're right.
People would ask.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
So that would be a Venus thing.
No, absolutely, because case in point, actually, Theo, is that she is quite and well aware of Rand being betrothed to Egwene. And she's like, it's not proper for them to be talking to other people they're betrothed. Like, she doesn't, eventually she gets the gist that, hey, it ain't gonna happen. But spoiler for people watching the show. So, speaking of the show, we do have a point to add in. But are there some other aspects you wanted to explore before we jump? Go for it.
Rustica. That was a rustic holiday. It's again wine, but it's vegetable growth and fertility, Remember how I said she's not necessarily like Persephone or Demeter in terms of like fertility of the seasons,
Right, right.
but she still has a fertility aspect of the earth.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of, she does a little bit of both. Um, Most likely it's her oldest festival, maybe. But it's like when you're like trying to do like your gardens, your market gardens, your backyard garden, you'd actually say, hey, try do these things. Is it hers? Is it someone else's? Tough to say. A lot of times, for whatever reason, Venus and Jupiter were blended a little bit when it came to this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's interesting.
But I mean, if you're thinking about wine, it could be Bacchus. Vegetable growth could be, like I said, could be Demeter.
Okay.
So it's
okay.
that one's tough to say.
I see what you mean.
But it could be for Venus.
Oh, okay.
That one's.
So,
but the interesting date on this one
yeah.
though is August 19th.
August 19th.
So that would be probably in Europe. Would be either probably a time of harvest or getting ready for the winter with their grains and stuff would be my guess. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not an almanac person. But
that makes sense. There's certain things that not everything is harvested all at once, right?
Right. Yep.
So that might be the time for certain grains. Like corn, for example, that's I think more of a later harvest. Because you usually see corn mazes around Halloween time, right?
Right. Yep. So that could be when you're planting some stuff too. That part I don't know. I'm not a farmer.
There are some weird things that you plant late. Certain tulip bulbs, I think, can get planted late and stuff.
It'd be interesting to see when a rose bush would be good to plant.
Oh,
that'd be interesting. Snap. I don't know. Didn't I just thought of that one, guys?
Yeah, no, we'll have to look at that. Hit us up.
And then the last one, September 26th. That's a little bit later. Festival of Venus Gerentix. Yeah, again, like I said, my Latin's gone. It's gone from my brain.
That's September 26th. You said
September 26th.
So that's like just a few days after the fall equinox.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This one was by Julius Caesar, though. He was like, you know how I said he had to like combine to make, hey, I'm part of the, pantheon because I'm like Venus is, down the road. So this was his thing to say, this was my divine patron. This is who my great whatever you want to call it is, and this is my ancestral person, and she is the goddess of the Julian clan. We got to venerate her. Yeah. So that's what this one was. And it just like continued because, Augustus and everybody down the line, you had to pay homage to her. But what do they do in it? Who the hell knows? But that was a day of celebration since Julius Caesar's day was September 26th.
Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Interesting. Thought that was cool that you actually had major holidays to her specifically. Most did, but I didn't know there was. Actually, forgot that there was that many and didn't know. Make sense that wine because man, everybody loves that wine.
The one festival we talked about being similar to a festival that occurs in the Wheel of Time, and we talked about April Fool's Day. Not how we think of it today, but how it may have been thought about back then kind of matches with Tuan as Fortuna and her abilities to give people new names, new fortunes. She names Matt the Prince of the Ravens, for example.
Yep, changes his name.
So,
adds to it, I guess you could say.
Adds to it, right. And that gives him the command over the whole Shanshan army. Okay. So it's pretty amazing. It's a pretty big change of fortune there.
True.
So, yeah.
No more ship, and you're a ship-going person.
Right. That's very funny, too. Yeah. Yeah, you're a ship captain. Nope, your name is actually shipless. So from now on, you will never have a ship ever. I mean, you can't change someone else's fate more than that. I
No.
mean, she was destined to die in the ocean somewhere or in a river at least, but
Yep.
now she's going to die on the land somewhere.
Which is not good for the Seanchin. Because they don't
Well,
like...
well, not as much as the sea folk, though, right?
No,
The
yes,
sea
Steve.
folk,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
so the Shanshin have mastered the sea for sure, but it's the sea folk, like if they don't die out on sea, it's like a problem or something. Like if they're on an island when they give birth, then they run out and sit on like a paddle boat. It's just so that they're like technically in the water. Yeah, so no, very interesting stuff. So unless you have anything else to add, I wanted to show where the show might be going with this.
Go for it, dude. Yeah, let's talk about that.
So
What you
here's the
thinking?
thing. We talked about Venus being like the evening star, and that is true.
Mm-hmm.
What is also true is it's also the morning star. Now, so is Mercury, which also makes Mercury an evening star also.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going, so you tend to say, okay, well, they both have these attributes, but we're personifying these things, like in mythology. So we're going to call Venus the evening star, and Mercury can be the morning star.
Mm-hmm.
But they are both. And there are times in mythology when Venus is the morning star. So specifically, there's a story about the morning star trying to shine as bright as the sun. And then in the Pride, gets basically washed out by the sun when the sun actually rises. So, and the reason why that story works is like, well, we know scientifically what Venus doesn't give off light, right?
Right.
It's reflecting light from the sun.
Yep.
So, of course, the moment the sun shows up, Venus is outshone. She's outdone.
Yeah.
So, or he, depending on the mythology. So, in the series, Theo,
Yeah.
how do they refer to Nynaeve? How does the false dragon refer to Nynaeve when he sees her, the effects of her channel?
Logain thinks he's like, oh my god, it's like the biggest starburst I've ever seen, or something to that effect. I don't know if I got the quote right, but
something like she shines
brighter
as
than the
bright
sun
as
or
the sun
something
or
like
something
that. Yeah.
like that, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay. So doesn't that sound like Venus in the morning sky?
Yes.
But then here comes big bad sun,
Boom.
shining so bright that it's like, oh, snap! I thought that was the sun. That was not. That was impressive, but the sun is something entirely different altogether.
Right. I know where you're going with this one.
And that would be our boy Rand, right? So now Rand is still building up his potential as far as this story goes, but that's how I see that similarity building up, and the pride that they give Nynaeve. Like, she doesn't, like, when she met the Amaryllis seat, she was just not impressed. Didn't bow, didn't tilt her head.
Yeah, I didn't even acknowledge. It was like, yeah, and.
So very prideful, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where they're going. I think that's the rendition that they're doing. Maybe they're gonna put a finer point on it than Mr. Jordan did. And the other hint that we see in those cards that were released on social media, where every character had either a solar halo or a lunar umbrus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
I think if our audience is willing to stick around, I think that we can hold their hand and show them even a secret world that's in the show material.
It. Heck yeah. The hidden meanings of the things that you see.
Right, exactly. And I just want to say one other thing. We're not dogging anybody. We're not accusing anybody of plagiarism.
No.
The reason why I say that is people get a little touchy sometimes. And I look, here's the truth. If you want to learn rock and roll and make a hit and be the best, you don't pick up a guitar and teach yourself. You learn from the best. And after you learn from the best, you hope you have something to contribute that hasn't been done before. In the ancient world, there was a saying that said, I'm going to mess it up, but if you want to write a good story, emulate Homer.
Right.
It won't, and your best hope is that it's almost as good as Homer.
Right.
So, like, and messing it up, but basically the saying is, like, there's not a better story to be told than the Iliad and the Odyssey. So,
I agree
I'm
with
not
that.
saying you can agree with that. I'm not going to argue that point one way or the other. But what I'm going to say is, if that was the mentality of the people at the time, then everything is going to be written with an
With it,
aspect of
like
Homer
it.
in mind.
Yep.
And so today, when you think about where we are and what we call fantasy, Jordan certainly built upon Tolkien. And that was the language of the time when he started his book.
Right.
The
Yep.
bizarre thing that happened in his time or after his time is that now his style is the style to beat, right?
Yep.
So, things change.
One great author will try to, I don't want to say one up, but at least get close to what they had right before them. And then whatever happens. Yeah.
And how can you do that without digging deep and seeing what influenced that author in the first place?
Exactly.
And I mean, look at, I'm not going to remember the story, but what Star Wars is based off of a very famous princess rescue story, right?
There's a bunch of stories, but yes.
Oh, well, a bunch of stories. But maybe I'll refresh your memory. I heard there was a samurai story about rescuing a princess from a tower.
Samurai.
Yeah.
For sure.
So
100%.
Jedi. So if you think about it, you go, Jedi or samurai.
Yep.
Oh, Luke went to a Ronin who shouldn't be alive. He should have killed himself.
Right.
Of course, he's going to help rescue the princess of the land. And, that's the story.
Yep.
And that's it. Like, oh, okay, cool.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
So in closing, y'all, hopefully you liked our show. This is more of our what we usually do. And now we actually have a third part. We can refer stuff back to the little bit of the show that we've got a glimmer of.
Absolutely.
And when season 2 comes out, we'll see what we revert back to, or we may evolve. Would love your input. So even though YouTube keeps deleting every comment that we get before we can actually see them, keep commenting. Because eventually maybe we'll see something. Because we see it, and they say we have a comment, and then we go back in, and it's like, YouTube has deleted this comment. So, don't know why, don't know what's going on with the algorithm. But it is what it is. But keep doing your thing. Like, subscribe, view. It's awesome. We much appreciate you guys. This was our first show of the new year, man.
Happy New Year, my friend.
I know. So, hopefully you guys have a good, healthy one. Because this past couple years have been a little rough around the edges for everybody. So hopefully, knocking on wood, 2022 is prosperous and healthy for everybody. But in the meantime, like and subscribe. We are the Heels of Time. And until next